Hi everyone, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog, and it is Sunday, so it's time for the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup, where I tell you guys what movies we've been watching this week, and I invite you guys to tell me what movies you've been watching this week. This was actually a light week on movies for us, despite being in our, third week of quarantine lockdown. My kids have no desire to watch extra movies or TV right now. What? They've been playing a little bit of extra video games, but they've mostly been entertaining themselves without adding extra screen time or asking to add extra screen time, which is pretty awesome. So we actually haven't experienced like a dramatic increase in our movie watching. But here's what we watched this week. Despite the fact that I put a moratorium on zombie movies and pandemic movies because of the current situation, we actually managed to watch two of them this week. Henry had found out about Rec, the 2007 Spanish found footage horror movie, and he really, really wanted to watch it to the point where he was like, "Can I have permission to just watch this movie by myself if you don't want to watch a movie about a disease?" And I was like, "Oh no, that movie's rad. Let's watch it." So we watched it, and of course, we all loved it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a really cool found footage movie. I was never the biggest fan of Blair Witch when that first came out, so for me, Rec was more kind of like the first like really cool use of that for horror that I found really effective. This is the one about the news reporter and cameraman who wind up trapped in an apartment building that's been shut down by the government, and they're not letting anybody leave the building because there's something in the building, some kind of disease. And it turns out to be sort of, zombie-esque type of thing. It's very cool though, the way the story unfolds, the way it's told. It's a really good use of found footage, good acting, good directing. We thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's a good one to check out if you missed it. I don't know about watching it multiple times. It was good enough for like one solid viewing, but if you've never seen it and you're a horror fan and a found footage fan, I would definitely recommend Rec. Oh, too much? All right. The next night after we watched Rec, we watched Son of Rambow, the absolutely charming 2007 coming of age story about two boys in a going to school together in England who wind up, one of the boys is like from a really conservative religious family. He's not even allowed to watch TV or movies of any sort. And the other boy is like the worst behaved boy in the whole school. And they become friends and they bond over Rambo First Blood. And they decide to make their own remake of that movie called Son of Rambow. And it's wonderful. If you haven't seen it, this movie is amazing. It has something in it for everyone. The kids loved it. We loved it. I loved it 13 years ago when it first came out. It's still incredible. It holds up incredibly well. It's an absolutely charming movie about these two boys and the movie that they make. And of course, I love movies and I love DIY stuff. So I love movies that present other people's DIY versions of movies. Son of Rambow is a great example. Be Kind Rewind was another good example, although I thought that the homemade movies in that movie were 1,000 times better than the actual movie. In the case of Son of Rambow, the whole movie itself is incredible. It's a great watch. Totally recommended for everybody. 2 thumbs way up on Son of Rambow. The next night after that, we actually took a recommendation from one of you guys, one of the Cinema Club members who regularly comments on here, recommended One Cut of the Dead. So we decided to check that out. That is a Japanese movie that came out in 2017. It's really fun. It's really cool. The basic premise is that some people are making a low budget zombie movie and then their production gets attacked by zombies. But the way the whole story is told is really cool. The first part of the movie that you get is a short film called One Cut of the Dead. And then the movie kind of backs up from that and you see the people who are making the movie, planning the making of the movie, and then you get to watch them make the movie again. And it's a little repetitive, but it's really cool because of course it's telling the story from multiple viewpoints. And the movie itself, the short film that is the start of the movie, One Cut of the Dead, is one cut. It's just one continuous camera take. And we didn't know that before we watched the movie. So we were about, 10 minutes into the initial one cut of the dead thing. And I suddenly go, this has been one continuous shot this whole time. This is pretty cool. And then the way that unfolds and they proceed to tell the story about making the short film in one shot is awesome. I love anything that has a story inside of a story inside of a story. Those nested layers of storytelling and reality are really cool to me. And I really felt like this movie, they did something really novel with it, which I had never seen before. So I really appreciated that. It is low budget, but like that movie Triangle that I reviewed a couple weeks ago, I would call this an A+ B movie. So One Cut of the Dead, definitely check that one out if you are into zombie movies, stories within stories, movies told in a single shot, Japanese movies. I mean, there's a lot of angles here. Definitely recommending that one as well. Thank you. I can't remember who recommended it for me. Sorry. But keep those great recommendations coming. I love hearing about movies that I never heard about and enjoying a brand new thing. So thank you. The next night after that, we decided to go back to the year 2000 and watch Snatch. Of course, directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, and a whole cast of other assorted people. We wanted to go back and watch a couple of Guy Ritchie movies and see how well they held up, 20 years on. And we decided to watch Snatch first, even though it came second in order after Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, just because. Who cares which order you watch them in? It held up incredibly well. We all thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the rewatch. This was probably my fourth time watching this movie. Kids' first time, obviously, and they totally loved it. They were completely into it. They loved all the characters. After the movie was over, they're, talking about all their favorite parts and which character was better than which other character. And then I revealed to them that, there was this whole other movie in the same vein with the same characters directed by the same guy. And they just immediately were like, well, when are we watching that one? And I said, well, I don't want to watch them back to back, but next week we can watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. You guys will love it. So Snatch, another great one, totally recommended forever. If you somehow missed this one, it is a high-paced, thrilling gangster movie in England set in the year 2000. I don't want to say much more than that just because it has its own internal, wonderful way of unfolding its plot. And if I were to try to describe it to you, I wouldn't do it justice. So, but obviously another one way recommended by us. We thoroughly enjoyed it. No complaints here. No criticisms here. It's aged really well. It does show its age, but not in a bad way, if that makes sense. So Snatch, if you haven't watched it ever, definitely watch it. If you haven't watched it in the last, 10 years, watch it again, because that's a really good one. And speaking of another really good one, we decided to show the kids Braveheart this week, which was really fun. We split it up into two pieces because they don't tolerate one 3-hour movie that well. So we watched it over 2 consecutive nights, and we had a blast. We love watching historical epics. We kind of say it's credit in our history class of Unschool. But I mean, we just really want to see some crazy medieval battles and these Scotsmen going, full ham in their kilts and all of that stuff, which is exactly what you get when you watch Braveheart. It's aged really well. It's an incredible movie. It's a great story. It's really well acted. It's really well directed. Hilariously, at the end of the movie, the first credit is directed by Mel Gibson, and the kids were like, "What? You can direct yourself in a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can." And I think he does mostly a good job. Unfortunately, some of the shots turn into this like weird sort of Mel Gibson goes up his own ass and is like making these like, dreamy sort of long fantasy shots of just him as a character in the movie, which are bizarre. It's definitely an ego trip going on there. But other than those, it's incredible. It's very well directed, incredibly well acted. The costumes are great. The battle scenes, I mean, that's what you're watching it for, right? We stopped it smack in the middle of the movie after that first huge battle and right before he gets knighted. And that battle, the one with the where they attack the horses, I don't want to say too much if for some reason you haven't seen Braveheart, but woo, man, I've seen this movie multiple times. I knew what was coming, but I still was just like hit in the face by that particular move in that battle. And just all of the battle scenes in the movie. I mean, it's a hard-hitting, violent movie. It was kind of funny. At one point, I'm watching this big extended battle scene and I'm going, if there was just a little bit more blood here, this movie would be like a splatter movie, instead of like a historical epic. So I guess, if you're super squeamish, if you don't dig violence, and if you're sensitive to violence to animals, even though it's acting, it's not real, but I get it. Maybe skip it. But other than that, I would definitely give Braveheart a shot. It's very inspiring. It really, the core message of the movie is freedom first. I'll die for it. I'm never going to, bend down and kiss your ring. I'm a free guy. And we all deserve to be free. We all have the right to be free, right? So it's a great message. He's this, just unstoppable warrior who refuses to back down and is constantly going up against these guys who are more powerful than him. So you get the great underdog story also. It's a great movie. Like I said, I think it could be trimmed down 2.5 hours, maybe get rid of some of those dreamy shots of Mel Gibson. But it's great. It's incredible, sweeping, epic. It's just totally fun, righteous, awesome movie. I know some people have trouble with Mel Gibson as a person. He, did some unsavory things later in his career and life. I didn't have a problem watching him separating the man from the actor, from the director, from any of that. So, that was it for this week. Like I said, it was kind of a short week for movies for us. The other reason why we only watched 5 movies this week is Sean and I have been secretly watching Ozark. We just got into it. We're about halfway through the first season and we are loving it. But of course, I don't want to review it until I've either completed a season or the entire series. But if you guys are into interesting new crime thrillers, I would definitely check out Ozark on Netflix. We've really been enjoying that one a lot. So that's about it from me for this week. I don't know what we're going to watch next week. Like I said, I promised the kids Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, so look for another Guy Ritchie review next week on Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Other than that, I'm not quite sure. Do you guys have any great recommendations? I would love to hear them. All right, that's it for now. I will be back in a couple days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, take care, and I'll see you later.